Hi friends, I want to talk about creativity. But first, I saved a baby's life today with my wife. Actually, the baby did most of the work. He's the real hero. So I'm sitting on my couch today. My wife is in our bedroom. We're both working diligently on creative and productive things. I hear a knock on the door. The knock on the door did not sound like a normal door knock, where it's normally like 1, 2, 3, subtle, maybe a little harder if somebody has particularly strong hand. They worked out that morning. They didn't realize how strong they had gotten over that 30-minute period of time. You know, normal door knocking situations. It was a very frantic, quick knock. If I remember correctly, there were 5 knocks. And I thought, oh, that's interesting. Let me go look through my peephole and see what's going on. I look outside and I see a girl holding a baby, and she's knocking on every door along the hallway of where I live. I immediately realized we had a baby-related emergency that was occurring. So I opened the door and she says, "Do you have a phone? My baby is choking," or something to that effect. And I get very calm. I go grab my phone, come over and say 911. She says yes. My wife goes to her and the baby invites the baby in. The baby could come in, but the mom could not. I'm on the phone with 911 relaying information. The baby was conscious, but was choking on something. He could breathe. He was getting air into his lungs, but he was working very hard to get whatever was inside of his throat out of his throat. First responders are on the way. I'm in a separate room talking to the people, and I hear them say from the other room, it's out, or something to that effect. And then I go in there, and the baby had eaten a dime. The mom had the dime in her hand. The baby was immediately fine. He was up, walking around, pointing at our dog, having a good time. Normal Wednesday. But the paramedics showed up. It was a whole thing. Anyway, always know what to do with a choking and or unconscious baby. Me and my wife watched a couple of training videos today to brush up on that. So I want to talk a little bit about the topic of distraction today. First off, I do want to touch on a project I've been working on. It's very similar to a project that I was working on in a previous video. I'm taking photos for a company who makes protein bars. The company is called EXO, which I can only assume stands for Extreme Xylophone Operators, which would be an excellent band name. Extreme Xylophone Operators led me to take photos of some climbers in a canyon. That was a good time. I bumped into a couple of people. They were doing their climbing things, young folk, just relaxing, climbing up a sheer rock face attached to ropes, which I hear is almost as fun as playing video games or advanced Scrabble. But I needed to put a shirt on them that was branded Extreme Xylophone Operators and get photos of them climbing, and they obliged. It was a lovely time. Then I went to a gym and photographed some people working out in those same shirts, and that was fun. Extremely challenging, very fast-paced, good way to get your adrenaline going if you're a photographer. It was new territory for me, so I had to think very quickly. I'm sure the second time I do this sort of shoot, I will do tremendously better. How did you find a gym, James, you ask? What is a gym? How is a gym? Those last 2 questions I would say are best saved for a medical professional. As far as the first one, we had a friend. His name is the Bearded Trainer. He has a great beard, and I'm sure it contains at least 100 grams of wisdom. He's a rad guy, and he allowed me to come by and photograph one of his classes. As a thank you to him, I said I will take some photos for your gym as well, which I think is a good strategy. Okay, distraction. Lesser things will distract you from greater things. Think about the things you talk about with others on a daily basis. When your mind is focused on those things, it is not focused on other things. A lot of times the things that your mind is focused on while you're talking to somebody else may not be that meaningful at all. Don't get me wrong, small talk is a very meaningful thing. There's nothing wrong with a couple of guys talking about lip gloss. After all, from the heart flows forth unto the mouth outwardly, and it's easy to be distracted from meaningful things in life by other things. I think it is good to find the highest meaning you can in life and go after it. I think that as we grow up in the progression of life, we start out focusing on things that aren't that meaningful. And as you grow older, you start to realize the need to focus on meaning. When you're a tiny baby, what do you care about? Staying alive, or really nothing. You're of no value to anyone around you except for your cuteness. As you're a young kid, you're hanging out with your friends, growing social skills, you're using your imagination, great things, but your output is probably not that meaningful. When you're a teenager, same idea. Your valuable output onto the world is probably not that great. You're probably quite unorganized. You probably drink a lot. If you're lucky, you're disciplining yourself towards something in the future. 20s, for most people, just going into massive debt, and then all the way up until 50, they're just digging themselves out of that debt. Then hopefully at 50 you go, you know what? I don't have forever on this world. I'm gonna do something nice. I'm gonna do something valuable, of service, helpful. I would like for you to not wait until 50 until you decide to start doing such a thing. Oh heavens, I have a rogue pillow. So this is a common progression for life, and I think it's important for us to be aware of that. When it comes to creating art, I believe that if your goal is to make pretty things, that is probably all you will ever do. In other words, if you're a photographer, it's likely that you will have a tendency to fall into what I would call a default position of a photographer, especially a starting out photographer, which is to take photos that look pretty, that feel nice. This is a good thing that you do this. Aesthetic beauty is a crucial part of development and creating your art, but is it distracting you, these pretty photos that you've been creating? Is it distracting you from doing the thing you really want to be doing to make a difference? You have to ask yourself, when I'm practicing my craft, what do I want my starting point to be? What am I trying to do? And when you find that thing, I would encourage you to go after that. Pursue that at any cost. I mean, don't kill your pets, so maybe not at any cost, but most costs. So I came across a documentary about a couple of climbers. I forgot both of their names. Welcome to James Red, where quality is found. This documentary is about a specific route that is incredibly hard. It is actually called Dura, which means the hard. It's like when you like your neighbor. There's a lot of like. There's a lot of hard.
The hard.
So it's hard. We have Climber 1 and Climber 2. Climber 1 is the one who mapped out this route and set it up, meaning he sort of nailed the things into the wall so you could hook up to them as you climb up. One of the things I love about climbing is it seems like you have to have a very singular focus when you're making your way up the wall. Where your hand will go next, where your foot will go next. And for hardcore climbers, there's probably a dramatic level of obsession with climbing and maybe neglecting other things in their life. I mean, this guy's hair is insane. He just loves climbing. Hi. It's actually the next day. I was busy saving some more choking babies. Created a startup around that idea. Where was I? Okay, so there are people in the world who like to rock climb for fun. They don't necessarily put an emphasis on pushing themselves to overcome greater and greater challenges. However, many of them do. But then there are people who are really intentional about putting themselves through a lot of pain and suffering in order to overcome challenges. Guys like the two guys in this documentary take climbing very seriously. They like to challenge themselves. They call these climbs projects. They will memorize the route to the top. As these guys are going up, there's this intense energy of community all around. They're screaming. The metaphor in this documentary towards what I'm trying to talk about today is their meaning is to overcome immense challenge, get to the top, use focus, energy, training to help them do something that is really special. They set an incredibly difficult to achieve goal, a goal that most people would not even attempt due to the difficulty and the internal emotional challenges that would have to be overcome to achieve that. But their starting point was a place of meaningful accomplishment. Anyway, it's a great documentary. The editing is fantastic. People like these people push me to push myself harder. I love watching stuff like this. You will never get through the ocean of death that you have to cross to get to your meaning if you don't create that meaningful goal in the first place. you will stay where you are. Also, it's a good idea to stay inspired towards your meaning in a structured and intentional way. Videos like this do this for me. And I also realized recently that I want my photography to be more about people pushing themselves like these folk. And luckily I have plenty of people who are disciplining themselves around me to photograph, so I'm going to be doing more of that. But that's it for this video. I would love to hear your thoughts. And contained within those thoughts, I would be interested to hear what you guys use to keep yourself inspired towards meaning. Okay, bye.